Our system has very many modules, but with focus on finance. Now, finance is subdivided into two broad categories, just to make the use of the system very easy, and that is the finance itself and the procurement. Now, under finance, again, we have subsections, starting with students, staff, external funders, then other single sections. Now, under students, we start with the student billing. Of course, you bill students, and then that money now becomes their balance, automatically school fees balance. Now, you can bill a student individually. For example, I come and select that probably I'm billing this student for school fees for term one, and I'm billing maybe 500,000. That bill automatically gets added, and you can see it increases the school fees balance of this student. Or because usually what we bill is uniform all through, we can bill in bulk. You select a particular bill item and bill a particular class. And you bill class by what? By class. And then, secondly, or another thing under students here in finance is the fact that you can enter the fees payments. For example, we have a student we just billed, this second student, if I'm not mistaken, and this student comes and makes some payment. Of course, depending on your payment channel, you'll have a particular reference number. You will put that reference number, which is ideally supposed to be unique per transaction. Then I put, like, for example, this has been paid through school pay, and maybe my school pay money goes directly to Stanbic, and maybe this student has come and paid some 600,000, and you're quite sure this 600,000 is for school fees, and then maybe has paid some other 90,000, and maybe this 90,000 has been tagged to requirements. So I'll select requirements. So the total I have here is 690,000 on the same receipt. Then I add payment. And I add payment and I click, would you like to print? And I click yes. I'll be able in position to produce this receipt that is unique for that student with a balance right down there. So another thing I can do for this student, I'm in position to print statement. I can print a statement such that this student can know how they've been moving. Of course, the statement can be a full one like we have, or a partial one. Still under students, like you've seen here, we have two types of balances, the actual and the one after waivers. Why so? Because inside here, under finance, still in student section, we can handle waivers. Very many students request for deductions or on special bursaries. So we track all waivers from here. And of course, there's a section of also uploading these waivers in bulk. Another thing under students, we have debit memos and credit memos. Credit memos, of course, you find some people pay in kind. You find the student, maybe a parent is also a supplier. They supply something and then you make a deduction. Yes, you've not received actual cash, but you can reduce that money from the student's fees. Another broad section we have here is staff. Now, staff, in the staff side, the money is leaving their accounts. Under staff, you have where you record the salary in case of an advance, you record any allowance. In case you're forwarding any allowance to salary, you still have to record it. So this is where I record the salary. I come and select a particular person, and then in case they received any salary, I record and then it gets saved. Another thing I can do here is of course, before doing making the entries of salaries and what have you, I can generate a kind of a payroll, such that I print it, then disperse the money, and after disbursing the money, I make the entries in the what? In the system. So another thing we have here are external funders. You may have some loans, or you may have the director may lend the school some money, or may just give it a grant. This is why we record such money. Then we have some other direct expenses. For example, you just pay directly the electricity and what have you. This is where you make those entries and you're able to keep track of them. Another thing under here, some bank account transactions that are non-school fees. For example, you make some deposits, you make some withdrawals, you need to, or you make a withdrawal from the bank before you spend around on other people for purposes of making a reconciliation. You record also those transactions. Secondly, or third, another thing, we have transfers. You may have not necessarily a bank, but you may have your different sources. For example, you could have another account here, maybe you call it cash, and you're making a transfer. So instead of utilizing the other side of transactions, you can do here transfers such that you know that how the money is getting transferred from one account to another. Another thing under finance still is the fact that you can do record other incomes. Of course, the school can make money from other things, maybe hiring the bus and things of that sort. And then another broad thing we have here, of course, are now the reports. Very many for each of the modules. You can, of course, you want to know which student has paid what, balances, and things of that sort. This is where we have those reports. But besides those reports that are just general, we have the professional ones, the ones that communicate finance, the trial balance sheet, a cash book, and then a profit and loss, or statement of income and expenditure. This is where we generate them. Now, like I said at the start, finance is not just finance, but moves hand in hand with procurement, because some of the transactions that are made in procurement, or actually all of them, actually have an effect in the reports in what? In the finance side. Now, under procurement, of course, procurement that is proper will always start with an order. Of course, this order is made when someone has made a quotation to you. So, if I want to make a particular order for items, I can, and I want them to be delivered maybe on Saturday 11th. I'll put the person who's ordering, then the point I want these items to be delivered. So maybe I want some t-shirts, and these are red and branded. So and so it could be whatever you want, and then I want 20 pieces, and I expect this person to give me each piece at 23,000. I add, there could be shoes, and maybe I want maybe butter. I'm just assuming, and then uh, 7 pairs, and each pair is maybe 50,000, and I add that, and then right here, if I have some quotation in hard copy that I had scanned, I can also save it such that for future reference I can always come back. Then I go ahead and add this LPO. So when I add it, I can be in position to go ahead and actually print it. When I print this LPO, then the people can append signatures, and then I hand it over to my supplier. When the supplier has done supplies, I could issue a goods received statement and a goods received management here, like you see. Then the other thing I can actually do is also recording. When the supplier invoices me, I can go ahead and record that invoice. Of course, this invoice is recorded with a particular expense category, because the moment you have the invoice, if you're going to make if you're balancing the books, this money is always tagged with a particular expenditure. Mm. And then next is, of course, if I record the invoice, it increases the balance I have with this particular supplier, or it will increase my accounts payable. Then, in case I make a payment to a particular supplier, this is why I record it. And of course, when I record that payment, it's a deduction in my accounts payable for that particular supplier, or what I may call a supplier what? Balance. Still under procurement, there are some suppliers that are quick. You don't have the supplier's biodata and what have you, but you just record them right here. So this is why I record them. Now, procurement as a whole also has a couple of reports, very many of them. Now, like I said, the system has very many other modules, like you can see, and each module we can go into details for it later. But here, our focus was mainly on the finance, and yeah, basically that is it. Thank you.